The video you're about to watch is quite long, be warned. I put all the videos together into one video here of all my predictions for 2018. If you prefer it in bite-sized pieces, you can also watch these videos as short versions, which you can see either on my website at psychics.co.uk or on the main page for my videos blogs here. These are my psychic predictions for 2018. Now, the predictions are recorded on YouTube and posted on my website on the 18th of September 2017. That's when I'm recording it. It might take me a few more days to actually do the production, but that's the recording date I'm making for this. They've also been emailed today to my editor at Fate and Fortune magazine as confirmation. I'll also be talk about my predictions that I've got right and also the ones I've got wrong. As I said last year and previous times, some psychics make massive lists of predictions, don't they? And they talk about only the things they get right. Again, that's not really fair, is it, really? I mean, again, it's like to think of it, all of this as a bit of experiment, really. I mean, and I'm fallible. You know, I might get things right, I might get things wrong, but, you know, if you get something startlingly right, you know, I mean, it might make you think again, right? Okay, about whether the future is set or not. Now, I'll be referring to the screen a lot as I'm talking, so my eyes will sometimes sort of go down and up like this. I have a list of my predictions in front of me, but I want to talk a little bit also about what's ahead. But first of all, the 2019, just to summarise, I feel it's going to be a year of more political turmoil, and we've seen a lot of bad weather things in 2017, but I think it's going to get much worse still with those things. Are going to be really unprecedented weather. I think the coming year of 2018 is going to be a real landmark for making changes in the environment and addressing these problems. But anyway, I'll talk about that in a minute. I'm making these predictions, like I say, in September 2017. So some of my earlier predictions for what remains of 2017 remain unfulfilled at the moment, but we'll see if they come and happen, shall we? So they should happen after September. Sometimes the thing I see may happen much further ahead. Like, you know, I might see something very specific and it doesn't happen that year, but it comes, as I said, later on. Now, timing is always very difficult. And also, excuse my cough. Also, remember, all as psychics, we're not infallible. We make mistakes. We get things wrong, you know, so don't jump too much and worry too much about me or what others say. We get a feeling. It's a bit like, you know, the way you get things in a dream. You know, it comes in a way that you get bits of it, you get a feeling of it, you get most of it, and sometimes you don't quite get it all, but you get enough to be able to get a glimpse. And I think that's how it works for all of us, including the big ones like Nostradamus. But anyway, I'd like to explain my viewpoint also before we start. That's just about, I've got a few notes in front of me, so about how all this works, you know, because as I've explained, there are many mystics generally think that everything is consciousness. This is my understanding. You know, all that is, including me, including you, my body, the world, my thoughts, it's all a form of consciousness. I kind of would need a lot to explain the full detail of what we mean by consciousness. Another video perhaps. But consciousness is not like something separate. It's not something that's generated by the brain, but it permeates everything. In fact, it is everything. That's the idea. All is awareness. All is consciousness. And in us human beings, it's focused in a different way. It's focused in a very, very powerful way. We're like filters. We're like lenses for this consciousness. And it means that we can influence the flow of what they call causality. I mean, we, through our consciousness, can change events. They find this in things like quantum theory and things now. You know, when you look at something, it changes, you know. Well, if we buy into this idea, this means that everything that exists is actually influenced by human consciousness, you know, and human actions, of course, as well. But this idea is also kind of intertwined with the idea of karma, because our thoughts and actions create ripples, right? Ripples in reality that bounce around and bounce back with this idea of karma. So good things and bad things, good thoughts particularly and good actions, but good and bad thoughts create ripples. So we get like a cosmic boomerang coming back to us. Now, in order to accept this, you have to really also accept the idea of reincarnations. But like the reincarnating human has done all these good and bad deeds through life and through multiple lives, and collectively we've created a kind of a tidal wave of human energy, consciousness energy. Now, world events, all world events since the beginning of time, are being driven by the collective karma of all of us that have accumulated through history. So, now the good news is that, you know, we also have the power to change the course of history through consciousness. You know, we're not just at the mercy. Westerners particularly, less so in the East, but Westerners believe in this idea that we have free will, you know. A big question, the idea of free will. Can we change things? But we believe that our thoughts can actually influence the world around us. So we can change the course. We can dodge the arrow, as it were. So, you know, the good thing, or even though myself and other psychics will probably see things that can sometimes be a bit scary, but also we can change things. So maybe sometimes through our collective actions, our collective thoughts, we will guide the future to a better time. Now, I'm a great believer in the idea, and this is an Eastern idea as well as a Western idea, but this idea that there's a great wheel called the yugas, that there's this turning, and we're coming out of what's called the Dark Age, the Kali Yuga, and we're coming into a period of a brighter age that's going to last for about 2,000 years, some say. A golden age for 2,000 years. Now, it's a long question, this, because the yugas are divided into much greater periods than that. But, no, basically, with our thoughts, we have an opportunity now to bring a bit of light into the world. So, bear that in mind when I make my predictions that follow. These are my psychic predictions for the environment. Now, I put this top of my list actually because environment, I feel, in 2018 will see unprecedented things. I feel we're going to see a lot of earthquakes. I feel there's going to be a lot of volcanic eruptions and some very, very ferocious weather. Now, I have been saying for some years that we can expect this. It's not just because of global warming, but also I feel it's because of an increase in the actual activity of the sun. And this is something I think we'll start to see in the news through 2018. It's going to create some terrible hurricanes, and I feel we've had some, you know, of course we had some terrible ones in 2017, but I think we've got worse to come. You know, we're going to see America bombarded by this. We're going to see typhoons as well. That would be the ones in the east, you know, as well. So we're going to get a lot of this. This is going to be throughout the year. Now, I've said that there would be a big eruption in Iceland and India. That's why I was talking about that last year, because I felt this was the beginning of this sort of upheavals in the environment and in the weather. Now, that's not happened. We didn't get a big one in Iceland and we didn't get a big one in India. But I still feel that that's something on the cards. In 2017, I said in my predictions on my website, however, and on the video, on the YouTube video from last year, you can watch it if you like, I said, this is the words, I see volcanic problems around Italy, around the area of Vesuvius, and maybe the island of Ischia. Right? Now, sadly, the Ischia one in particular happened. That prediction came true to the letter because there was a deadly magnitude earthquake in Ischia of a 4.2 magnitude earthquake that hit Ischia on the 21st of August 2017. So this prediction kind of hit home for me actually when it happened, because my family were actually in Naples, and on that very day we're planning to go to Ischia. So, you know, I was a bit worried for them, and I kept asking, are you going to go to Ischia? And no, we're not going to go. Thank goodness they didn't, because, you know, there weren't a lot of people killed, but it was the place was devastated, as you saw on the news. So they cancelled that trip, fortunately, on the very day that they were going to go. But sadly, Ishnia saw a lot of destruction and deaths. Perhaps my personal connection somehow allowed me to see this happen. You know, sometimes if we're somehow connected with a prophecy, maybe, you know, I'm actually going to be in those places. So let's see. Okay, and I also said, this is to quote it again, exact words, USA experiences a serious drought during the summer of 2017 while Europe has floods. Again, this did happen. But I did not directly predict the hurricanes themselves. There was hints of it on the video, you might remember. But I should have seen the magnitude of this more so than I pointed out. Again, shows perhaps psychics are fallible. For 2017, I also spoke of a toxic cloud off Norway. That was the exact quote. Now, this was wrong, again, you know. But it may have been something a bit close, seeing something a bit closer to home, because I don't know if you saw this in America, but off the White Cliffs of Dover in the UK, there was all the beaches had to be evacuated because of this mysterious toxic cloud that took over all the beaches. Everybody was coughing and spluttering. They couldn't understand what it came from. I think it might have been a submerged ships that's tanks burst or something, but it was quite a major thing. It was all, you know, main news here in the UK. So maybe I saw the right thing but didn't quite get it right. You know, this is our fallibility again. But it was a weird thing to predict and a weird thing to happen, and it did kind of happen there. So perhaps you give me the benefit of that one. Anyway, but now here's some of my environmental predictions, psychic predictions for 2018. Now, I see another eruption of Vesuvius. I said about the issue, but I feel they're going to have to perhaps evacuate Naples. I feel there's a big one coming there. This has been, you know, it's been sat dormant for a long time, that volcano. But I feel that there's going to be a number of serious earthquakes. I also think there's going to be a serious earthquake in New Zealand. In fact, 2018 will see a general increase in seismic activity worldwide, and in some unexpected places. This is something, note that, some very unexpected places we've not seen earthquakes and not seen volcanic activity for centuries. This could, you know, involve all sorts of places: Hawaii, America, and even places like Edinburgh in England, and places on the continent of Europe, you know, where we wouldn't normally expect them, you know, not normal volcanic and earthquake activity. That I feel there's a lot of that ahead, both in Europe and America. We're going to be getting some serious stuff with that. Now, the next prediction is that the southern seas will be impassable in places due to a massive break of ice shelf from Antarctica. I was talking about this right back in 2014, and actually if you do look at the news, they've been talking about ice shelves there as well. But it's been something that's been on my mind for a while, because I think when this goes, there's going to be something that's going to just disrupt the whole southern seas. I mean, we're not going to just see bits breaking off, we're going to see a huge section break off down there, and I feel that's due in 2018. Now, also on the environmental issues, there's going to be more wildfires in California and, I'm afraid, Australia. That's going to all blow up again in 2018, and there's going to be major flooding in India and China. We're going to see one of the worst monsoons of all time. I even feel Bangladesh is going to be affected as well, because I felt there'll be flooding there. Now, those people there have already got troubles because they've had all the people from Burma flooding in with the refugees at the time I'm speaking, but I feel something that's really big is going to hit Bangladesh. I actually feel, this is another thing that's an additional one, is that I feel that Bangladesh is going to be part of India again. I don't think that's going to happen in 2018 exactly, but mark my words, one day I feel that India is going to expand its borders. It's going to start re-expanding, and I think Bangladesh might, because of these environmental things that keep hitting it, is going to actually voluntarily want to become part of India again and become under Indian administration. Alright? It feels as if things collapse. Okay, so if we make a prediction, I also feel we've got to think, you know, like I was talking about, that it's all consciousness. So what could we do? What should we do on the basis of these things, you know? Because the collective thoughts of all of us can become a sort of remedy to change things, you know? When I consult the Nadi oracles, they always give you a remedy. They say this is your future, but you can change it if you do these remedies, and they're usually spiritual sadhana of some sort, sometimes ritualistic stuff and things. But the mystics say that the earthquakes are a result of bad karma caused by mankind's kind of disrespect for nature. Nature is kicking back. So as well as taking practical care of the environment, we should all do naturally, I think we should, in ourselves, become inspired by nature and the environment. That very action is kind of a connection with the consciousness of Gaia, as it were, of the world's energy, of nature itself, And if we can draw from the vibratory power of nature, then more of us are properly in tune with nature, see it as a conscious being. All things are conscious, like I was saying at the beginning of this. This is a theme I keep throwing back at you, that all things are conscious. So if all things are conscious, then surely if we connect better with nature, if we genuinely connect with nature properly, each of us as individuals, we can help change that environmental crisis. I feel it's not just about the physical things we do to the world. We throw petrol into the environment and burn this and plastics and smokes, and we pollute the seas. Yes, that's going to come back on us, but we can do that. But we also need, I feel, to inwardly connect with nature. Once we begin to love nature, all of us, and we genuinely treat nature as a being, then maybe nature will find some way of correcting itself. Interesting thought, eh? These are my predictions, my psychic predictions for 2018, and the theme on this one is now world conflicts and terrorism. Dreadful that terrorism becomes a regular topic that we talk about, but unfortunately I feel there's more to come. Now, I predicted last year that North Korea would become the focus of the world's attention and conflict. In fact, I predicted that back in 2014-15 I was talking about that, I believe. So this has become very focused in our minds now, of course. The main prediction about this I said last year was, I said Kim Jong-un will fall from power later in the year, maybe December 2017 or January 2018. Now, I know this looks like we're on the brink of war at the present time when I'm talking, but my feeling is that he will eventually be deposed by his own people. I might be wrong with those dates, but I feel that is what is going to happen. I hope it will be December or January of 2018, early settlement of that thing. But I think it will eventually happen that way. His people will eventually pull him down. A coup of some sort. Now, they're all fanatics about him there, but I still feel, even with all that, there's a way that he'll slip from power. Now, this will therefore remain part of my predictions for the time ahead. I also spoke of an arms race happening. I was talking about in the Far East, and of course that's happening because of the provocation from China forcing Japan to initiate an arms race. Japan is going to need to buy arms. I feel there's lots going to happen. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But we saw provocations from provocations from China. So this prediction's still on the cards too. I also predict a series of words I said was a serious threat of escalating conflict between China and India. Now, that's kind of happening too if you look at the news. It doesn't make the headline news so much, but there are serious threats of an escalating conflict between China and India. I think there's going to be more of that ahead, more of that to come in 2018. I think, as I said on some of my other videos, I think India will expand its borders. Something is going to happen with India. It might be, I said Bangladesh and Pakistan, and it could be conflicts with China with the far north borders with Tibet and Nepal and places. I also predicted conflicts between China and the USA as satellite computers are hacked. That was my exact words. Well, this has kind of happened politically. There has been a sort of a cyber war going on, they've been talking about, between China and America, and there's been a lot of extensive hacking in the news. So that was my prediction that I got right. I think we'll probably get more of that again in 2018, but I've got more specific predictions to make about things like that later. Now, last time I spoke about right-wing riots in Germany. Now, this has also happened, and again, I feel it's going to get worse in 2018. I feel that, Europe is not going to be able to absorb all these new people, and I think more and more people are going to feel resentful, and we're going to see more and more conflict there. This is going to be hitting the news all the time. This is my feeling. Now, I also, I saw a lot of, I've had a lot of dreams recently about riots and things like that, and also it seems to coincide also. I made some predictions about Environment, but I've had a lot of strange dreams about places being undermined by huge torrents of water. So I think we're going to see, like I said about the environmental stuff in my other video, I think this is going to cause lots and lots of conflicts around the world, because it's going to wreck crops. It's going to wreck. I saw actually Rome sinking underwater. Now Rome's not a place that gets water, but I saw it like it was all being under. But I thought that was a symbol of Western civilization being undermined. So it could be a symbolic of problems ahead for the Western civilization generally, or it could be this environmental thing I'm seeing. I believe dreams are a really strong way to get in. I mean, mine comes through mediumship and meditation, some of the influence of the Nadi oracles around me, and also I feel it comes through the unconscious mind and dreams, as you might get as well. But anyway, I felt I wanted to say that. I've gone off my point. Okay, so we're going back to these world conflicts. So I'm looking at my notes now. There'll continue to be a cultural division within Germany and France, and I see worsening racial troubles and riots ahead. Okay. Now, followers of my predictions, I will know that I predicted the Arab Spring and the first Je suis Charlie atrocities in Paris. But on my page and on the videos about the Middle East, I saw the defeat of ISIS in Syria and Iraq. Now, this process has also been happening, so that's something I kind of got right. As I explained, Syria will be left almost uninhabitable, and that's kind of happened as well, hasn't it, really? And I also predicted that Syria would be partitioned. So far this has not happened. It's been interesting that people have been talking about this, but there's been strong indications that this could eventually happen. So I think it's one of those predictions, you ask to predict for the year ahead, but you sometimes get the long view. Timing is so hard with these things. But I think eventually I still hold that that's what's going to happen in Syria one day. It will be partitioned, it will be divided up, and that will be a good thing, unfortunately. The Syrians might not like the idea, but you kind of got to separate the tribes. Okay, so now here are my world predictions, specifically for conflicts and terrorism for 2018, and I need to read these from a list. So, okay, a trade embargo with North Korea will fail. The US will strike at a railway line and bridge to disrupt imports. I'm seeing actually bombing a bridge between China and North Korea, as if they're cutting it off. Now I've said he'll be deposed, but I still think there might be some form of action as well. Sanctions are going to be the best thing. That would be best to topple them if we can get China and Russia on board. But I don't think China and Russia are going to be helpful. They're going to kind of work together against the USA for economic reasons and pretend it's for other reasons. Okay, so I had another one of those dreams, and I dreamed of 4 tall towers destroyed by jet fighters. So they looked a bit like mosque minarets, but they're like 4 mosque minarets. Those tall mosque minarets that they have the speakers on and do their Allah stuff from. Well, that's what I saw. But when I woke up, I thought, that didn't feel like Arabia or anything. It felt more like North Korea. So I thought, what could that be? And it looked like something industrial. And I wondered, that's where I came to this conclusion. I thought it could be bridge supports of some sort. There might have been supports holding something up. So that's how I've come in a convoluted way to that prediction. So let's see what happens. Like I say, these are a bit of an experiment, these predictions. But that's where I'm coming from. That's how I get my predictions. So you might find that interesting how it comes. Okay, another one. His own people would depose Kim Jong-un. Well, that's what I've said already. His body is not found, and some claim that he survives and flees to hide in China. So interesting. If this does happen as I've predicted, maybe it won't, but if it does, they say he's dead, but maybe he's not. That was the feeling I get. Last year I made another prediction, and I talked about a world flu epidemic, and I said this would happen towards the end of 2017 or at the start of 2018. Now don't be alarmed, I don't think this is going to be like the big pig flus that wiped thousands of people out. I think it was not pig flu, there was another one, the big ones, you know, that have wiped people out after the First World War. It's not that type of level, but I still feel there's going to be some warnings, there's going to be some concern about this, because I feel this still could happen. I still feel it's, you know, I've said it for that time. There's also, you know, there was another thing I had a bit of a feeling that this could be some subterfuge going on here, like a form of biological warfare, that someone's trying to seed an illness from North Korea by a terrorist group trying to seed a cold. Now, I think I'm seeing two things. I think there's going to be a flu epidemic of some sort. That is going to be quite a serious one they have to deal with. But I think we also stop terrorism doing this. They're caught with some form of biological weapon that they want to seed as a cold or something like that, a virus. You know, it gets stopped. So I think I'm seeing two issues combined there. So I don't want to alarm people too much with that, but I feel that we might catch them stop them doing something like that. But there's also a general flu epidemic. I think that's going to be something that we need to be concerned about. Let's see what happens. I really hope I'm wrong with that one, because that's you obviously don't want to be, you know, in fact I hope I'm wrong with all of these, because we don't want to see suffering in the world, do we? So again, always positive thoughts with these things, you know. I don't want to seed negative thinking, seed the positive always. So think about how, you know, good thoughts to people heal. Okay, I see America make a big military commitment to Japan as the country's pacifist mandate is withdrawn. I mean, Japan doesn't have nuclear bombs, and I actually think that Japan actually pays to hire American missile defense services, possibly even having missile attack services as well. So not just like Patriot missiles, but might even develop its own nuclear missile project as part of its defence, right? So that would be a shame that Japan has stayed pacifist for so long, but is forced, I feel, to develop its military. North Korea problem, of course. Another one, Ukraine is accused of illegal sale of missiles and nuclear technology. So this is another one that I've had feelings about. I think there's going to be a lot. I think we're going to get the Ukraine issue has gone away in a way off the news, but I think we're going to get a bit of a resurgence of things there, and find that there's problems again with the Russians taking of the Crimea and things like that. Another one is a massive Bitcoin fraud is uncovered. Now this is a financial one really, but the fact is the funds are found to have been from terrorism, and it's a big blow to the terrorists, because we capture, we find out a big fraud that was going on with Bitcoin coins, and we get a lot of the terrorist funds this way. But what the important thing with this prediction is, my feeling was when I saw this one, is that a well-known American company is involved in the scandal. Now I can't go saying which company that is, but I saw this very clearly in my meditations. So I'm going to just say it as a well-known American company is involved in a Bitcoin fraud that is involved with terrorism. Their blue chip company, slush funds, as it were. Funds, not slush funds, you know, the terrorist funds. Okay, another one is that the terrorists will make an airborne chemical weapon attack. Now, I don't think it's going to be huge scale. You know, you're not going to wipe out all of London or anything like that. But I felt that there's going to be a European capital that's going to be affected by this. It's going to be one of those drone attacks. We're going to see the first of the drone attacks coming up, I'm afraid. First off, because I think they're going to try this a number of times. This could be, I think this is Europe. I think it's going to be a European city, possibly a capital of some sort. My thought is London or Berlin. I keep getting Berlin actually as well, but maybe both, you know. So that's what they're going to try as their weapon of choice now. dreadful things. I hate making these predictions really because it's so gloomy, but we are dealing with a massive terrorist problem. Again, you know, I don't think it's going to be more frightening than it is people killed. You know, I mean, obviously any person killed is dreadful, but it's not as the scale that prediction implies. Okay, now last year I predicted a chemical attack on a school as one of the things I said, and I'm really pleased that I was completely wrong with that. But I still feel that, you know, these dreadful people are going to make some attacks on schools, and I felt an attack on a school is going to come up. I think it will be thwarted at the last minute again. You know, I mean, around the world we do have very good proactive services clamping down. I think the world is going to get a bit more like Israel with its attitude towards terrorism. Israel has a zero tolerance towards terrorism. It pushes a lot of the human legal rights aside and will proactively really go for terrorists. I think you're going to hear a lot about that, about the idea of mimicking Mossad and Israeli techniques to combat terrorism in the West and in America. Okay, so we've got this. Now, again, like I say, each set of predictions, I feel, look, what can we do about these type of things? Again, all of us feel so helpless in this world with all these dreadful things going on. And you know, when we think about it, you know, I mean, the old I Ching I use a lot sometimes for, not to make these predictions, but often in my own predictions in life. And that's an old Chinese oracle, this one, very old Chinese oracle that anybody can use, you know. And it says in there, the best way to combat evil is perseverance in the good. That one came up recently, and I thought that really does seem to be the way to tackle these terrible things that happen in the world, you know, because it works in our own lives, you know. If we energetic perseverance in the good, you know, if we do good, that's the best way to combat evil, you know, and it works in our life and in the greater reality as well. So, like, collectively, we should look at horrible people like Kim Jong-un, the horrible terrorist losers, as Donald Trump calls them, the greedy business fat cats, and the perverted priests, and all those horrible people that we keep hearing about in the news. And when we see these disgusting things, what we should do is do the complete opposite, you know, act with acts of kindness, you know, try in ourselves, think, well, how can I deal with these? And you can't. There's not much you can physically do. But if you can develop greater kindness in yourself and greater compassion towards other people, that is a powerful energetic force. That, like, you know, I was talking about consciousness is a powerful thing that actually has a force for good. Thoughts are things too that actually have a healing power to the world. So when we see bad things, okay, we're all very good, we all give money to charities and things and try to help with money. That's great, that helps too. But actually it's in our normal thoughts and actions that's even more important, I feel. You know, we've got to be both. I mean, Sai Baba said, hands that help are greater than lips that pray. That's a good saying, because that's the help we give. We physically give help. But also, we have to be more consciously engaged in these things to change the world. This does, you know, so by consciously doing acts of kindness, we actually create a tremendously powerful force that can change the world itself, I believe, you know. And we forget actually the latent powers in ourselves. And looking now to the Indian perspective, because as you know, I'm very interested in Indian mysticism. We do live at this moment in the time of what's called Kali Yuga. And we are all hoping now for the golden age to occur, you know, the Satya Yuga, the golden age to bloom. Now, between the changes of ages, there is, you know, a lot of difficult problems occur in the world. But the realization that we come to, the realization that what the people understand in the golden age is not a comfy world with, you know, life's a buffet and we just live a very materialistic life. No, it's not like that. What we realise is that the golden age is an age where we inwardly become awakened. You know, that the golden age lies within us, right? Now, what that means is that in the dark age and in between the two ages, some people can live with the golden age already alight inside them. right? This is what the power of consciousness is all about. And during this period of darkness, often people will spiritually awaken, you know. In the age of Kali Yuga, they say you can simply awaken by chanting a name of God, you know. I mean, that power of the mantra is very powerful. But more so, we can, the light can awaken even in a dark age. And those lights are very bright in the darkness, you know. And this changeover to a golden age, they say, is the time when all the great teachers will start to be reborn into this world, you know. So see these negative times we live in, I think, as a time when actually you may think it's dark, but really this is the time of the dawning of the light. This is the time when good people will be coming into this world. And that's the theme I feel underlies the predictions for the coming years, now and into the future. We are going to see a gradual transition. So all those horrible things that I'm talking about, predictions that I feel, okay, that's an interesting experiment to try. But more importantly, try that experiment in your own consciousness to awaken yourself. And you can try with simple things. Kindness is a good way to start. Next up are the psychic predictions for the economy. Okay, in my previous predictions, I said in 2016 for 2017, I said 2017 sees Italy in serious economic problems. There will be a meltdown in the Italian banks, which will pull the euro down with it. Now, it's kind of not happened quite to that level that I've explained. But this has started to happen, as Italy was forced to bail out two of its banks for 5.2 billion euros. That's a huge amount. Now, as I'm making this video, I feel, you know, we've still got more of 2017 ahead. This could be a problem that extends into 2018. It's something I've felt. Like I've said so often, it's so hard to time these things when you're making psychic predictions. So I've included these now in my predictions for 2018, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. I've also, for 2017, I predict there's going to be a stock market fall, but a recovery as well. So we're going to see quite a serious bounce, I feel. Now, I did predict that in August the 21st, 2017, I said to coincide with the eclipse that happened then, I said there would be a short-term economic problem. Well, actually, strangely enough, there was a what they called the eclipse effect. The stock markets all went a bit wild at the time of the eclipse, but did recover. So I was kind of right with that one. Anyway, what we got now is the world economic predictions for 2018. So, top of the list, an Italian banking crisis causes chaos in Italy, and I feel that will be serious. A lot of people there will lose their homes. This will cause other problems. The euro will plummet, I feel, and towards the end of 2018 and 2019 there will be riots as well because of the steep economic decline that this causes. I see a lot of instability in Europe, you know. The UK and USA will be hit by the weak euro, but their economies will bounce back quite quickly, I feel. And the pound and dollar actually will be seen as safe havens for international monetary and investments. Now, I have kind of said that before, so I'm kind of extending this prediction forward. I feel, you know, the pound actually will become very, very strong once we come out of Euro. It will be Europe, EU. It will shoot up, and I see a lot of the UK and US economies becoming very, very much more intertwined as we go forward. I even see, you know, more powerful of joining than not the same currency, but I see that, you know, a very strong bond, a symbiosis as they call it, between America and the UK. Now, I got it wrong in 2017 when I said this. I said Denmark and Italy pull out of the EU as the euro crashes. But again, I think I've just got my timing wrong, and I think this is still on the card. So I'm holding that prediction for the future, right? Rather than saying it was a wrong one. Well, you could say it's wrong, but I still feel it's what I think is going to happen. So overall, 2018 will be kind of financially a bit of a bad year, very unstable for world economies, and we'll see some major brands in trouble. Now, just to thrash it out a bit, I think we're going to see some of the big internet brands getting in trouble too. There's going to be a lot of new regulation brought in about the internet, big regulation from both sides of the Atlantic. We're going to see, we've already seen moves like this in Europe. France and people don't like the way internet trading's done, and they want their taxes. Same too in America. I think Trump's going to interfere with the internet trading, and there's going to be a lot more regulation about the internet to stop some of the big boys taking all the money and not paying any tax. So these things are going to cause a lot of initial problems, because I think we'll see a few brands going bust, you know, and a lot of brands being sold and traded hands, right? Okay, so again, like I say, with each predictions, let's make a remedy. What's the thing we can do with this? Because let's think about it, you know, from a spiritual point of view, economic troubles are kind of caused by the energy of greed. You know, it's greed that creates economic problems. I mean, that's the practical thing, but also inwardly, you know, when we talk about consciousness as being the driving force of the world, it's the power of greed is the destructive thing that we see, you know. So the law of karma means that, you know, this will set up a situation that will fly back again like a cosmic boomerang, you know. If we can't stop the greed, we can't stop the greed of the fat cats, can we? We can't stop those awful people that have everything and want more, you know, that ruling elites that cream off all the best for themselves, and you know, and but their own lives, that, you know, they just, well, in our own lives we can try, kind of counter this. That's what I'm saying. We can counter this by trying to basically live more simply. You know, we see people being greedy, probably, okay, we've got to stop that on a practical level, but inwardly we should say, well, I'm not going to be like that. You know, I don't care how greedy they are, I'm going to try to live a bit more simply. You know, you can still have nice things, but that's the way to approach it. So if we cease in the East they say, if we cease the craving of the fruits of our actions, we actually attract prosperity into our lives. You know, we just get everything we need. It kind of happens. So giving and forgiving, as Sai Baba says, really does work. If you give and forgive, you actually get plenty in your life. And that should be kind of each person's motto. And really, we can only do this by personal example. So that's the remedy for the economic problems of the world. There you go. Here are my psychic predictions for America now for 2018. First, a review of what I said before. I mean, my predictions hit the news and kind of went viral, didn't they, for a while, when I made the predictions in 2015 about Donald Trump, and simultaneously at the same time I made the Brexit predictions. But last year I said that Hillary Clinton will drop out of politics. This has been kind of on the cards, it seems now. It's certainly been in the press. She's hanging in there. And recently, actually, surprisingly, expressed a desire to come out of politics because she actually was talking to one of her friends about becoming a religious preacher as an alternative career. Can't imagine that. But anyway, that's what was said, so that was kind of on the button with that one. I also stated in my predictions for 2017 that America becomes a nation divided between East and West, and that there would be riots on the streets. This happened and is still happening. East and West, it still seems to be a bit that way. Maybe North and South has become more the norm, actually, with the southern states taking down statues and so forth. Certainly America has become that divided nation that I forecast. I was wrong in my prediction partly in that I said troops from neighbouring Canada would be called in to help quell unrest. I certainly found it was going to be on a big scale. I think it has been on quite a big scale, so those predictions from 2018 certainly came true. Now, coming up now, I'll talk about the predictions for 2018 for America. Now, what I've got here, I'm reading from a list now. An attempt to impeach Donald Trump in mid-2018 fails. Now, I saw sort of new information coming forward. There was sort of a really serious impeachment attempt this time. You know, there's been a lot of talk about this, but I see a real serious attempt, particularly trying to get his tax records and things like this. The problem is it will fail. And it will actually backfire on those people trying to impeach him for political reasons, because I feel he'll become a very popular president, more popular. It's very divided, people are very divided, but the middle ground of American politics, I feel, will begin to swing a bit more towards Donald Trump. Like it or not, that's how I feel, you know. I don't personally have a political opinion about these things. I'm from the UK, you know, so that's not for me to say. I also say that Donald Trump will initiate a massive trade deal with the UK in advance of Brexit that will shake the EU. Now, there's been some talk of this, it has to be said, you know. So, but my feeling and my gut feeling is sort of that I feel that it's this is going to become a major deal, you know. I feel that America's going to be quite economically isolated. I feel stronger divisions with China and also with Russia. China and Russia, I feel, are going to kind of gang together economically against America. So America's going to find a lot of its past markets closing up, and I feel that this will stimulate even more interest in forming a deal with the UK. I also feel Trump and America generally will fall out with Europe. There's going to be a lot of economic problems in Germany, for example. I see airlines going bust in America, in Germany and UK. And so there's going to be a lot of disruption there. I think American markets are going to all shift, but I think Britain and America is a sort of an important economic connection. I did say that in my economic predictions anyway. Going on, the next one. Yeah, I also want to say on that one that the deal that there's going to be a deal with the UK. It's going to include things like arms, very high-tech services, and I think there's going to be something new happening in the motor industry. I'll make some predictions later, but I felt that there's going to be in Britain, there's going to be some new developments in the motor industry. I think American money is going to come into Britain to form a new form of new vehicle, something really top of the range, it's Aston Martin level sort of thing, but also for the common man, right? Electric as well. All right. Again, returning to the full American story, here we go. The Mexican border wall will not be built. I don't think it will ever be built. But I do think that we'll see next year that there will be a border of sorts, in that there'll be a lot of new innovation with things like drones and sensors. It will become a drone and sensor wall. And I think it will be quite effective. A lot of money will go into it. I feel the same amount that Donald Trump pledged in his election pledges will actually go into that wall, so it'll be almost as expensive as building the actual wall. I said here, now I've got another, I'm reading it, I'll kind of preempt myself here. The US will lose trade in the East as China and Russia form a military and economic alliance in response to the North Korea crisis and US protectionism. As I said a minute ago, China and Russia becoming very close friends, dangerously so in some ways, because there's going to be influences around the world that are going to be pretty hard for America to take on their own. So America is in terms of a nation as the policeman of the world now, is going to have to find new allies. So there's going to be a lot of juggling with United Nations and things like that for America to find new allies and new partnerships. We're going to start to see the shift of balance and alliances change a lot, I feel, in 2018. Now, I also saw this. I saw an explosion on a US warship, which actually I felt sank. I saw a sinking US warship. Now, this could be something, you know, immediately one thinks about North Korea and all their rockets and their missiles and things. But my feeling was it might be something fairly benign. Not a warship sinking is not benign, but there was something like a mine or something took a warship down. Unless I'm picking up something about a terrorist operation on an American warship, that would be pretty hard to do. But there was something about, anyway, what I saw was an American warship sinking. That's about the details. Sorry to be a bit vague, but you know, with these psychic things, sometimes you just get bits of it and you don't know the whole thing. I feel, I talked about the economy earlier on in one of my other videos, or if you're watching the full video, I've spoken about some of this, but the dollar, I feel, will take a tumble. Now, I would actually predict that I feel that might happen in February, but there will be a recovery, right? So February is not normal time when stock markets have problems. It's usually October time, I think. But I sense there was a bit of a problem around February time with the stock market and particularly with the dollar. But the economy itself, I feel the American economy will be seen, there will be some weaknesses seen in the economy. There might be a problem with inflation and overvalued stocks and things like that. I'm not a financial person, but I feel that some of the big names like Google and things, their stocks might fall. You know, I think we're going to see a few blue chip names in trouble. I've talked about this in my economic predictions. Overall though, I think the American economy isn't going to be in trouble or anything like that. I think it's going to do okay. I see economic problems in Europe particularly, which could ricochet through the whole world's economy, of course, and these problems with trade with China. But actually, British and American economies, I feel, are going to do reasonably well in 2018. It's not going to do as bad as people might paint it. Now, Donald Trump's wife, I was doing some meditations and I saw, what's her name? Melania, isn't it? Melania Trump. I saw an image of her doing a song with the Trump grandchildren, and I kind of think that it was as if Donald Trump and the family do a sort of PR thing to try to sort of get look a little bit more friendly to the world. And I saw them releasing some form of, I think it's a song of some sort that they're doing for a charity. And it actually does very well. People mock it as well, but I also feel that it actually raised quite a lot for charity and raises the Trump's standing in the world as a person, right? I mentioned this in another one as well, actually, on some of the conflict things. I feel America will be, I don't think selling arms to Japan, but I feel that they're going to start this idea of renting military hardware to places like Japan. And you can rent. America will be up for rent. America military will become kind of a mercenary force, people could say. But it's going to be up for rent for the right democratic countries. I think there'll be a lot of controversy about this. When it comes to the things such as the Obamacare repeals and things, as a Brit, I don't really know the full details about this. But my sense is that they're going to sort this problem out. There's going to be a new form of medical treatments in America somehow, I feel, where there is going to be available to the charity wards or whatever it is. There's something new is being brought out that's not insurance based. There's a safety net put in to replace Obamacare, and actually it's Obamacare almost by name in a different form. But just slightly worked out differently in a way. It's like a compromise, you know. So those are the main ones I have for America. I did also have, we had the Grenfell fire here in the UK. I felt as if there was a big fire in America on one of the big tall buildings. Now I'm not a terrorist attack like 9/11, but I felt as if a big public building went up in flames. I think it looked to me like a casino type place. So maybe it's in Las Vegas or somewhere like that. I felt like it was a public place that all went up in flames. I don't think it's huge loss of life like we had in Grenfell. I think everybody's got out pretty much. But I just saw that. So that's something I feel hit the news. It's not a terrorist thing, it's just a fire, right? So that's those ones that I feel for America. Now, again, like I said before, I kind of like to, with every negative, let's look at a positive way, because you know we have all these things that happen in the world. Again, like I say, we kind of feel a bit helpless. What should we do? What's our remedy for these things? You know, like I say, the Indian oracles tell me, give me my karma, and I find that they give me a remedy to help solve that karma. So my feeling is, the remedy we need to do. Let's think about the USA. The USA is a religious nation. and it's been kind of misguided by religious fundamentalism and literal readings of Christian doctrine and so forth. So from a spiritual standpoint, the USA is suffering from a fear and intolerance, and this results in a sort of a social and spiritual division within America. The division in America is on a deep spiritual level, not just political, I'm saying, So a belief in a sort of loving God should not divide, but really should unite people so that we have more tolerance for those who are taking alternative paths. So my feeling is, in response to the sort of things that I'm predicting for America, spiritually minded people in the USA, I would suggest, can influence their nation's path with thoughts of tolerance and acceptance particularly of all cultures and all faiths. America's always been like this, but it's at the moment there's a religious spiritual intolerance that's just as bad as racial intolerance. So I think a hope and prayer are not enough for it's got to be a thing of where we really do start to accept that there are tolerance towards other faiths, and that would include Islam. So my thoughts are that sense of tolerance is what's missing in America at the moment. Spiritually, that's where America's going wrong, I think, and we've got such division there at the moment that we need to look much more at the common ground. Always look for the common ground rather than the differences. And then some of those walls, which are in the American people's heart, might start coming down more. Okay, those who watch my videos know that I'm UK based, you can tell by my accent. So here's now my predictions for the UK for 2018. Now, in 2016, for my 2017 predictions, made through the Sun newspaper, for example, or the Sun Online that was, I correctly predicted a Tory government, but I didn't really foresee the comeback of Jeremy Corbyn. That was kind of a mistake. So that's a wrong prediction from my point of view, but I got the party Tory wins. The main prediction at that time was that there would be a rise of a new political party made up of politicians from all other parties. Now that hasn't quite happened yet, but it has definitely suddenly become a bit more of a serious issue that's now in the newspapers. So I was seeing something, and we seem to have that in the news. So it's not all there yet, that prediction, but I think that's something that's on its way. And I believe that this will continue to become a news story, and that we will eventually see a new political party formed in the UK. And that will be a very powerful party that will take from both the Tories and the Liberals and the Labour. It'll be a mixture of politicians from all types of persuasions. So I spoke also, now last year I spoke about, I described a landmark going up in flames in London, and then I said, and I think that this landmark is the Houses of Parliament, because it was a tall building like Big Ben, but I was wrong about that. Big Ben didn't go up, it's still standing, everything's fine, but I saw that big fire in London, and I think the Big Ben was the symbol of London for me. This is how we kind of psychically see it, I believe. We kind of get bits of it. It's like dreams, it's like symbolics in some respects. Well, anyway, there was, I don't know whether I could claim this as a right or not, but people have been saying they think it's what I saw. But there was a huge fire on a landmark building in the Grenfell Tower in London, and a lot of people commented on this blog, on my other YouTubes and things, that this was probably the fire that I saw. Others have said that it could be just like a symbol, just as or maybe for the Westminster Bridge terrorist attacks, which happened at that point. But so there we go, and decide if you think it's right or wrong. I certainly did have this thing about seeing a fire in my mind last year and a tower, and it seemed an odd thing to predict, but it was such a terrible thing, that Grenfell. But anyway, so that's the predictions. Not a nice job doing these predictions sometimes, because you see and feel things that are not comfortable with. Anyway, the UK predictions for 2018. These are my psychic predictions for 2018. Okay, first one. There will be a hard Brexit, right? This will be pressed by because of Germany, and Europe will relent at the last moment. It will be a hard Brexit. It'll be taken right to the edge. They're going to be going into this with the feeling that we're coming out, boys. We're going to bail out here, And then at the last minute, I think Germany intervenes and softens things a bit, and a trade deal's created, right? So it's not going to. I think it's going to be the hand's going to be forced, because if they don't do it, it's going to go on forever, and it'll just get weaker and weaker and weaker. And I think there will be political pressure within the Tory party to have a hard Brexit. At the same time, I feel that that Juncker fella, Claude Juncker, loses face a lot, and makes a retirement. Britain then will, I believe, make its own cross-border deal with Ireland, and that will be successful. And even though the EU object, I think that it's like Ireland say, look, either you let us do this deal and we make an exception, or we're probably going to be out too, So there'll be pressure from Ireland and from the UK, and I think a compromise is eventually made there, all as part of this hastily put together Brexit strategy. So this is going to be happening in 2018. So this is prior to the actual Brexit date. So I feel that it's like we're bringing it forward in some respects. It's going to be really a tightrope for everybody. Now there will be. I feel that there's going to be 2018 in the UK is going to be year of strikes. These are going to be urged on by the Labour Party and Jeremy Corbyn in particular, who will be, encouraging these strikes, seem to be. And I think he will lose a lot of credibility because of this. Some people think it's great and think, yes, we're going to change everything and we're going to all strike. But then others, I think, are going to turn away from him. The left-wing side of his nature is going to be shown a lot more. And I'm afraid strikes will be the result. So how much these disable the country, I don't know. But they certainly were a problem when I was younger, and I think will be a problem in 2018. I believe Theresa May will stay in power. I think there will be a lot of attempts to get rid of her in 2018. I don't think she'll make the full term of the Tory stay in power, but I feel that she's going to stay in there at least through 2018. I feel that generally the UK, I've mentioned this in my economic predictions, the UK will thrive economically. And despite Brexit, despite all the problems that are coming along at the moment, I feel that because there's going to be a lot of trade between Britain and America, particularly, and Britain and Australia, and Britain and India, and Britain with basically what used to be the old empires of Britain. I feel that there's going to be a sort of a new spirit of enterprise in the UK like nobody's seen before, and particularly in high-tech markets. High-tech, we're going to lead the world in high tech. Now I also feel there's a lot of economic bits with this what I'm seeing here, but I feel a new car factory is going to be opened in the UK. It's going to be backed by government money and I think some American money, and it will carry the logo of a top brand. Now an old brand perhaps that's been rebought again, or I saw wings on it, so I thought maybe that could be the Aston Martin. Could it be? Would I be right? Perhaps. Could Aston Martin maybe make a people's car? So of course they're the top of the range car, but maybe they could make something like electric car of some sort for the mass market, something that challenges Volkswagen, right? I see many high-tech companies in Britain. 2018 for Britain is going to be a time of high-tech stuff. It will lead the world in innovation, and I feel a lot of new inventions next year, a lot of new medical breakthroughs, a lot of advances coming from British universities, and I feel in particular there's a new form of energy production will be discovered in 2018. Now that's not going to be cold fusion or something like that, but there's some way that we get energy from something new, and a completely new way of getting energy, which will be kind of the start of something major. That energy, if we change energy production in the world, we can change everything. We had unlimited energy, but we're not quite there yet, but something I feel happens in 2018. I think Prince Harry will announce his engagement, right? So that's what's going to happen, I feel, next year. I've talked about the new political party. That's on my list here too. So the new political party will be formed. I sort of already mentioned this before, but it will happen, I feel, in 2018. And I said that first in 2016, so let's hope. If not, I'm wrong. And there will be some terrorist attacks, I'm afraid, again. Now, I had this. A lot of my predictions sometimes come through dreams, and then I write them down and gradually put them together and say them now. But this one came a little while ago, and I felt it was for 2018. Now, I dreamed I was in a motorway pile-up. Well, not pile-up, a congestion. Everything had stopped. All of a sudden, all the traffic stopped. And there was something ahead, looked like an accident of some sort, and I saw gunmen going and shooting in all the cars, right? So why would I dream anything like that? You know, I haven't had anything that should give me any bad dreams or anything, or illnesses starting or anything like that. There was something just came out of nowhere. So I put in that as one of my predictions. Something about a motorway with a gunman and a deliberate traffic accident on a motorway, and then a gunman comes in on top of that. Hope it don't happen. Hope I'm completely wrong. And one last thing, going back to economics again, because I think it's going to be an economics. All the news next year in 2018 is going to be dominated by economics, in terms of British politics. And I feel that one of the British airlines is going to go bust. There'll be a lot of changes. Although I see the British economy doing extremely well, I think some of the bigger companies we might see some shakiness. But overall, a good economic time. So again, like I've said before, I kind of like to have a think about, you know, what sort of remedy is there for all these things. What could we do? What in terms of our consciousness, you know, because the whole theme's been about consciousness now. So when someone like me makes a prophecy, we sometimes see things about to happen in the future and get the sort of general feel of what might happen, right, but not always get all of it, you know. And I have to say, that's just where the unconscious mind impresses something into the medium's consciousness, and it can sometimes be in an exaggerated form, you know. So that's why, and these things work in a similar way to dreams that use sort of like allegory, symbolism, metaphor, and exaggeration to express a point on the unconscious mind. So this isn't kind of an excuse, it's just the way it works. And it applies as much to me as to Nostradamus, John Dee, Edgar Cayce, or anyone else who gives a prophecy. We're working with that intuition, that unconscious mind. So when you hear sort of like predictions that may be worrying, remember that the psychic's unconscious mind may get things sort of right, but they may be sort of painting a blacker picture than what will really happen. And that applies to all the predictions I've made, you know, prior to this one and the ones that are going to come again. Because I really do believe that the times we're going through now and in the near future are actually a prelude to a beginning of a better age, as I've said already. And when people of good character rule the world and individuals attain a higher level of consciousness, and then with that higher level of consciousness, that higher level of understanding and compassion, then the golden age that I talk about will be with us. And it's happening now, you know. And but you know, that's how it works. I think other mediums might have the same feeling, that there is something on the horizon, something good on the horizon. And it's written in some of the prophecies from the East. And that gives me a lot of reassurance that my intuitive feeling about these things is right. Last year I also made some rather unusual predictions. One of them was that I said that Shakespeare's bones would be exhumed and analysed and found that he'd been poisoned. This hasn't happened, so I wonder, maybe it might be shown in the future, maybe. So that mystery is still left there. I must have got that one wrong, really, to be quite honest. I got it right about a launch of a new virtual reality game. That's all kind of been happening with augmented reality games coming out last year, 2017. But you may remember that I also predicted a giant squid would make the news. Well, I felt a bit silly making that prediction, but actually, the Russians have found something really weird under the ice, and there was some other things coming up in the news about giant squid-like creatures found in the Antarctic, you know. So it looked like my giant squid theory, which I thought was, you know, I threw in the end because I saw this when I was meditating. I thought, well, I can't not put it in because I kick myself if I find a giant squid under the ice. But it was found, you know, there's been things found. Not quite the spacey thing that perhaps it might have seemed like. So there we are. So maybe that giant squid next year in 2018 is going to have babies that are going to march on Washington. There we go. Anyway, just to finish it on a light note. But I'll make some more predictions in January, I expect, because I expect things to change a lot better, and I can review this video a bit, and I'll give you some more. Sorry, I'm not really giving much about South Africa and Australia and things like that, because I've made a lot of predictions already. But I'll make some more later and cover you guys as well with things as what I can see. All right. So don't forget, you can always subscribe to this channel. You know, I always like to follow people. Please put some comments, because I quite enjoy the banter that goes on in the comment sections of this of these YouTubes. You can also post comments on my website. See updates on there sometimes, because if I spot a news article about any of these predictions that I've made, I'll make a link to that news article. And thanks to all those people that remind me when I miss something and the predictions come true and I missed it. So yeah, we go 2018. I think, you know, like I say, it's all very well making predictions and all getting gloomy about the world, because it is a worrying place at the moment. There's no doubt to it. But I think if we get our inner attitude right, you know, it generally makes a gradual change to the world, you know. And the Beatles said, didn't they made that lovely song, All You Need Is Love, and really that's it, simple as that, really. If we become a bit more compassionate as people, a bit more kind, a bit more caring, then the energy that we create can help to herald what I believe is a new age coming to us. You know, we will go through these dark clouds, but all those dreadful people like Kim Jong-il and all the rest of them, you know, all the people that are in power around the world who are complete nutcases, some of them, one day it will be people with good character that will be the rulers of the world, you know, and we will look to people of good character as being our heroes, rather than people that we're prepared to, you know, show their boobs on live television, or people that are rich, or people that have achieved things through, you know, dodgy means to get into power and fame. You know, we'll look to perhaps to people of good character who we can mimic and become better people. I think the time will come when human culture and human evolution will be linked to the ideas that the human spirit is the most important and the most important powerful thing in ourselves, and the reason we're here in the first place. We are here to develop our consciousness, to become fully conscious beings, and that is outside of all those things in the world. That is in us. It's all consciousness, as I said at the start, but we are a focus of consciousness. So if each of us can develop our consciousness, develop our compassion, develop all those powers in ourselves, develop the highest power of all, the power of love, then nothing can ever damage this world, and we can turn this world into the golden age that we hope for. So there you go. Catch you next time. Is the future set, or can we change it? In my new book, I take a mystical journey to India to do magical remedies that will change my personal destiny. I open a 5,000-year-old secret oracle that tells about what will happen in the future. I meet strange Siddha yogis with miraculous powers who show me how to eradicate the karma that drives events. What I discover changes everything. We can all change our destiny, and maybe together we can change the future of the world as well. Start making that change. My new book, Mystic Journey to India, that has now been made into a major international documentary series, is now available on Amazon.